Alright guys, let's be honest for a second. Total War's AI has never really been that good. In fact, it's been everything from kind of trying to totally passive. And over the years, we've watched the AI march entire armies into deep desert attrition, declare war on empires 3 times their size, and beeline halfway across the campaign map. And don't even get me started on the battle AI with its cavalry sacrificing tendencies or leaving its general vulnerable behavior. But today, we're not just here to roast the Total War AI, we're here to rank it, from the games where the AI at least pretended to have a plan, all the way down to the ones where it seems to have completely given up. This is a countdown of the dumbest Total War AIs, from the best of the worst to the kind of tactical decision making that would make Sun Tzu roll in his grave. Starting at number 10, we have Total War 3 Kingdoms, the one game out of the entire series where the AI almost gets it. For a brief moment, you can almost believe you're fighting a clever, calculated opponent. Warlords form coalitions, betray each other at the right times, and even coordinate attacks that look like they were planned by an actual human. But then the battles happen, and that's where the illusion sort of breaks. The AI just can't handle the more cinematic, duel-heavy nature of 3 Kingdoms. It throws generals into duels they can't win, sends cavalry on suicide missions, which is per usual for the series of course, and occasionally forgets that missile units shouldn't stand directly in front of spearmen. When things get chaotic, the AI completely reverts to that classic Total War behavior: panic, blob, and pray. Still, this is about as good as it gets in the series. The campaign AI is genuinely clever in areas. The diplomacy system actually works for once. It feels like your enemies have ambitions beyond just throwing themselves and their armies at your walls. If the battle AI matched that same intelligence, 3 Kingdoms I think would be universally known as the best Total War in the series. Now, next up at number 9, we have Shogun 2, which still stands as one of the better examples of Total War AI actually doing its job. The campaign AI here is focused, assertive, surprisingly grounded, sometimes chaotic, but usually it does a really good job. Factions expand logically, manage their resources well, know when to build up, how to build up their provinces, rather than spamming half stacks of Ashigaru everywhere. The realm divide system also gives the AI a huge boost, forcing it into organized, empire-wide reactions against you that still manages to feel dramatic every single time. Suddenly, those smaller clans you ignored 20, 30 turns ago are coordinating invasions and actually threatening your borders. Where Shogun 2 though probably stumbles the most, as with most Total War games, is in the battles. It handles field engagements pretty well, using flanks, maintaining formations, and generally understanding the don't charge cavalry into spears rule, but it also loses composure almost completely in sieges or rough terrain. Archers climb walls, generals commit to hopeless charges, sometimes entire armies just sit there waiting to be shot. But still, among all the historical Total Wars, I think Shogun 2's AI feels the most disciplined and methodical. It's not perfect, but compared to what came before and after by a wide margin, it's really not bad, which is probably why the community often ranks it as the best Total War in the series. Now, sliding in at number 8, we've got Total War Attila, which definitely deserves a bit of respect. On the campaign map, the AI actually shows flashes of genuine intelligence and planning and foresight. It understands diplomacy better than most games before it, managing complex webs of alliances, client states, and wars without completely collapsing. It knows when to retreat, when to consolidate, when to unleash pure chaos, which fittingly matches the tone of the late Roman world perfectly. The problem, of course, starts once these armies meet on the battlefield. Attila's AI can't quite handle the game's complex battle mechanics. It struggles with the heavy emphasis on morale and fatigue especially, often burning out its own troops in disorganized assaults, and it's also completely allergic to siege battles, charging men into fortified cities in hopeless waves, or worse, standing still outside the walls while flaming arrows do all the work. That said, it's still more capable than Rome 2's launch-era disaster by a wide margin, and the AI in Attila has clear intent. It knows what it wants to do, even if it doesn't always execute it that well. On the campaign map, it's sharp and thematic. On the battlefield, it's a well-dressed mess. It's one of my favorite Total Wars personally, because I think some of the positives outweigh the negatives, and the battles can turn into cinematic spectacles that actually do surprise you, but overall, it's still not as good as Shogun 2 or 3 Kingdoms. Now, Thrones of Britannia here at number 7 is actually the reverse of the story I've been telling you. The game where the AI on the campaign map feels like it's half asleep, but once you actually get to the battlefield, it wakes up and remembers how to fight. The campaign AI in Thrones, unfortunately, just doesn't know what it wants. Factions expand aimlessly, diplomacy goes nowhere, and half the time your supposed rivals beeline for random undefended villages. The campaign map system is interesting. You know, CA tried a lot of new things here with ungarrisoned villages, with new recruitment systems, etc. But the AI just doesn't know what to do with it strategically. And then, of course, the battles start, and it is a completely different story, guys. The AI in combat is actually decent in Thrones of Britannia, maybe even one of the most stable in the series. It handles the slower shield wall style engagements really well, maintaining formations, reacting to flanks, pushing when it has an advantage. It feels grounded, deliberate, and surprisingly human at times, and you can tell Thrones inherited a lot of Attila's combat systems, but just made a few tweaks here and there that made the AI much more comfortable with those gritty infantry-heavy slugfests. So essentially, while Thrones of Britannia looks and sounds great on paper, its campaign AI unfortunately acts like it's running a retirement home instead of a kingdom. Once the fighting starts, it redeems itself in a really big way, but until then, it's easily one of the most indecisive and lifeless campaign AIs in the series. Coming in at number 6, we're going back to a classic, Medieval 2 Total War, the game that proves even when the AI is trying its best, it can still do something completely insane. On the campaign map, it's a coin toss between genuine good strategy and absolute chaos. Sometimes the AI plays the part perfectly, forging alliances, expanding logically, defending its borders like a real medieval kingdom, and other times it declares war on every single neighbor it has, bankrupts itself sometimes, and even sends unescorted generals on sightseeing tours of Europe. Diplomacy in Medieval 2 does have a certain charm though. The AI actually remembers treaties, uses crusades effectively, and can build coalitions that make sense, but it's also hilariously impulsive. One turn you're allies with France, the next they're sieging your capital because your diplomat looked at them kind of funny. On the battle side of things, again, it's super 50-50, and generally, you see a lot more cracks than you'd like. The AI is aggressive to a fault, often charging straight into your line like it's auditioning for a reenactment of Agincourt. It can't handle missile-heavy armies, struggles to use cavalry intelligently, and completely breaks down in sieges. But there is, like I said, a certain charm in how straightforward it is. No fluff, no hesitation, just pure medieval chaos. Despite its quirks though, Medieval 2's AI still feels more alive than many of the other games we have yet to go through in this video. It's reckless, unpredictable, yes, and occasionally brilliant. And that's why players still love it, because when the AI finally pulls off something really genuinely clever, it actually impresses you a lot. Now, before we continue, if you're looking to buy a game on this list, despite the bad AI, you can pick up any of these Total Wars with a massive discount on Instant Gaming. They have a fantastic roster of other games on sale as well, like Elder Scrolls Oblivion Remastered, Crusader Kings 3 Chapter 4, or even the entire Total War catalog, all with big discounts. So if you're thinking about buying a new game, make sure to click the link below to get your games for cheap and support the channel at the same time. Now let's get back to the video. Coming in at number 5, we've got Rome 2 Total War, the notorious one where the AI spends more time thinking about war than actually fighting one. On the campaign map, the AI is passive. Factions build massive armies, reinforce their cities, they look like they're engaging with things, but then they just sit there, staring across the border. They'll only attack if they're absolutely certain they can win, which means the map often stagnates into long stretches of nothing, and diplomacy doesn't really add much either. The AI just simply runs on autopilot. And for me anyway, that's exactly why mods like Divide et Impera on Rome 2 are so mandatory. They breathe new life into the campaign, giving factions proper personalities and aggression, and with them, Rome actually behaves like an empire. Carthage becomes a threat again, and the world feels alive. Without them, Rome 2's strategy layer is more like watching an armed peace conference that occasionally breaks into mild skirmishes. And then of course there is the battlefield, which is a totally different flavor of disaster. The AI forms up neatly, charges forward, and immediately blobs into a single pile of confusion. Cavalry rarely flanks, ranged units get ignored, and sieges turn into endless funnels of troops dying at the gate. It is of course functional enough to finish a battle, but never smart enough to make it interesting. Of course, Rome 2 has come a long way from its launch chaos, but even now, it feels like the AI is too afraid to take the risks. It knows how to build an empire, it just doesn't know how to use one. Next up, we've got Rome Total War, the original, the beloved classic that laid the foundation for the series, but also for some truly legendary AI blunders. Compared to Medieval 2, its closest sibling, it's a simpler, clumsier version of the same formula. The campaign AI knows how to expand and build armies, but beyond that, it is basically winging it. It'll happily send half stacks wandering around the desert, declare wars it can't possibly win, and then sue for peace right after losing its first city. Diplomacy is hilariously primitive, alliances mean almost nothing, ceasefires last about 5 turns, and the AI's definition of friendship is just someone I haven't backstabbed yet. On the battlefield side of things, it's even more chaotic. The AI's favorite move is the all-out charge, no subtlety, no coordination, just a glorious stampede into whatever's directly in front of it. Cavalry will occasionally pull off a flank by accident, maybe, but most of the time the battles devolve into messy, swirling mosh pits, and sieges are definitely worse. The AI loves to burn through its own siege equipment and then stare at the walls like it's waiting for divine intervention. And yet, there is, again, like Medieval 2, something very charming about it. Rome's AI is dumb, but it's honestly dumb. It doesn't hesitate, it doesn't overthink, it just throws everything at you and hopes Mars is watching. Compared to Medieval 2, it's definitely less capable, but also less restrained. It's the unfiltered, chaotic energy of early Total War. Now, next up, we've got the third worst AI, dumbest AI, I think, in the series, and that is Total War Pharaoh, a game that looks like the most advanced Total War yet, but whose AI still feels like it's stuck in the Rome 2 era. On the campaign map, it's a really mixed bag. Some factions expand aggressively and actually carve out impressive kingdoms, while most others just sit there in the capital and get steamrolled. You might get one campaign where Egypt unites the Nile and dominates the map, and another where every faction just hurtles until the end of time. It is wildly inconsistent. And for me, what makes it worse is how little the AI actually interacts with the game's deeper mechanics. We already know, of course, that the AI never interacts with most of the mechanics in any Total War game, but the way it's done here in Total War Pharaoh, where mechanics like court politics, vassal systems, shifting weather and disasters, and the end of the world and all of that looks so fascinating and interesting on paper, but the AI just barely touches them. The result is a campaign that looks beautiful, but often plays like a museum exhibit, full of history, but with nothing really happening inside. On the battle side of things, Pharaoh's AI is pretty much exactly the same as Rome 2. When it works, it can look really great and cinematic, holding formations, countering flanks, maintaining some battlefield order, but then you get sieges and it all collapses. Units blob at the gates, cavalry wander aimlessly, and the AI just forgets how to function under pressure. It essentially inherits all the worst habits of Rome 2's AI, and there are a few other habits that are new that are just not very good. It's all pretty visuals, just masking poor decision making. And let's be real here, guys. Pharaoh is the latest historical title installment in the series. It should have been the game where the AI finally evolved, but instead, it's a reminder that shiny graphics and smart mechanics don't matter much if the AI just doesn't work. Now, the last two games on this list are fairly obvious. We've got Napoleon Total War, a game that's all about grand tactics, logistics, and battlefield brilliance, except for the brain-dead AI. It's clearly better than Empire, especially in the battles, but mostly the AI just does not function. Sometimes France steamrolls everyone in sight, as it should, but other times it collapses under the weight of its own confusion. Battle AI is better, but not by much. For a game built around musket lines and artillery duels, the AI still struggles to grasp a basic positioning. It'll charge straight into cannon fire, forget to protect its flanks completely, sometimes just stand there while you redeploy around it, and it doesn't help that siege battles in Napoleon just don't look good or play that well either from a design perspective. And naval battles, oh my god, I love naval battles in Empire and Napoleon. They are so good, they look so good, and they would be so much better if the AI actually functioned well enough and employed naval tactics, but they don't. Still, despite all of that, you have to remember Napoleon is a fan favorite because of its atmosphere, its presentation, its pacing, but in terms of AI, it is a tragic case of style over substance, a brilliant setting undermined by an opponent who just can't keep up. And that leaves us, of course, with at the top of the list, Empire Total War, a game that dared to dream bigger than any Total War before it, and yet somehow ended up with the most hopeless AI in the entire series. On paper, it had everything, and I mean everything. A fully 3D world map spanning multiple continents, trade routes, global empires, revolutions, naval warfare, but in practice, the AI completely collapses under the weight of all that ambition and mechanical depth. Some factions just sit still for decades, others expand in random directions, and naval invasions are about as rare as comets. You might see France declare war on everyone within 5 turns, or Britain ignore its colonies entirely while pirates take over the Caribbean, and diplomacy feels like it was designed by a committee of drunk diplomats. Alliances form and collapse for absolutely no reason, protectorates constantly rebel, trade agreements vanish overnight, and the world feels alive, but not in a good way, more like a fever dream where logic just does not apply. And then, of course, there are the battles. Line infantry forget what lines are. Cavalry charges into musket volleys without hesitation. Artillery either dominates or completely refuses. The AI just doesn't understand any of the mechanics that make Total War functional in the battle side of things. And naval battles are even worse. Ships spinning in circles, boarding attempts that never resolve, fleets that sometimes drift off into the horizon. And yet, of course, we still love it because underneath all that chaos, there is this incredible spark of potential. The scale, the vision, the music, everything about Empire screams masterpiece. All it needs is a brain transplant, a remaster, or overhaul of the AI could easily make this one of the greatest strategy games of all time. Until then, though, it holds the throne as the most gloriously dumb Total War ever made. So there you have it, guys. From the clever but flawed minds of Three Kingdoms and Shogun 2 to the absolute circus that is Napoleon and Empire, the Total War series has given us every kind of AI imaginable. Some act like cunning generals, others like toddlers with swords. Every bad decision, every baffling siege, every suicidal cavalry charge has become part of this Total War experience. Moments we laugh about, rage over, and remember years later. And honestly, it's hard not to imagine how much better these games could be with smarter opponents. An AI that actually understands its economy, coordinates attacks, fights like a real army would completely transform the Total War series. Mods have already proven it's possible to a certain extent. They can't directly code the AI, but they can change how personalities behave and what they prioritize. So here's hoping Creative Assembly looks back at these classics one day and gives them the intelligence boost they've always deserved. At the very least, we should have new Total War games with far better AI than we've had so far. Either way, I really hope you enjoyed this video and found it informative. As always, subscribe to the channel for more videos just like this, and thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.